This is a ManeHustle Media Podcast. ManeHustle Media Podcasts are recorded on the ancestral lands of the Chumash, Tongva, Karankawa, and Hohokam people, and I wish to pay my respects to the people of those nations, both past and present.
I was like doing the old man overbite.
Uh-oh. Yeah, I guess, you're one of them.
I'm one of them.
You're one of them.
I'm one of them.
Hey y'all, konnichiwa, what's up? Welcome to the Queer Femmes podcast, a travel podcast from a couple of queer femmes, providing tips and resources to travel safely while Black, brown, queer, disabled, or from any marginalized group and intersections in between. It's still not natural to me. It's fine. I'll get there.
Okay.
I am one of the hosts, Sharmane Fury, your sir auntie, aka daBlasianBlerd, the busiest mixed race, bigendered, bisexual, polyamorous, atheist, comic book nerd, cat mom, and two-time Asian American Podcasters Association's Golden Crane Award winning podcaster. I really need to stop doing that at some point in this podcasting game. And I am joined by my co-host and friend,
Shae Nahnigans. Hey.
Still a noob.
Still a noob.
That's going to be your thing. We'll be 5 years into this podcast.
5 years,
like,
I'll be a noob. That's going to be on my shirt too. Okay. Still a noob. Okay. Don't know how long I'm going to be doing this. Still a noob. Hey, internets. How you doing?
So this is episode 3 of Queer Femmes, and we're doing good so far. I mean, it's small. We still need people to find out about us, but we're getting some views. We're getting some comments.
Yes. Some questions.
We're getting some questions. One thing I just want to say, and I it's just because it hit me in the like, ugh. We did get a comment that was very nicely intended, but like also cut me to shreds in the same moment, where it was, I'm not gay, but I like your content kind of a statement. Oh. I want to say this because I need everybody to know this. It doesn't matter if you don't come from somebody's category when you're engaging in a conversation, in their content or whatever. If you relate to it, you relate to it. But when you point out, I'm not fill in the blank your category, you're othering the people whose place you showed up at. Yep. You're making them less than you. Yeah. And there's no other way to, there's really like, I don't want to be shitty about it, but there's really no other way to interpret it, because you're telling me you're an other to me. So I need to tell you I'm not like you. Right. Not necessary. I appreciate when people appreciate the content. Mm-hmm. And this happens to me on Militantly Mixed all the time. It happens to me on Bi Furious. I'm wearing my Bi Furious logo t-shirt. Hey. It happens to me everywhere. And it's as a brown person, as a bigender femme, as a queer person, it's always reducing. It just kills.
And it doesn't matter what the intent was. It doesn't matter what the I'm sure this person probably didn't mean it in that.
No, they probably just thought it was a nice thing to say. And so I constantly try to respond back when I get that kind of stuff. It's like, this is not necessary to say, and here's why. Yeah. And I know that in a lot of cases it makes somebody, you know, they instantly want to be defensive and defend themselves. This person did not comment or anything like that, so I'm not talking specifically about this person, but in general, across the board. It just always ends up being a thing. So the only reason why I bring it up is because I just want you to know that, like, we literally say it multiple times throughout the episode too. It's like, this content is for people who are from marginalized groups. We call the show Queer and Far because we are two queer people, and we are hoping to get far away.
Far.
That is why we were just trying to be clever, y'all. Yes. But you know, I'm always existing as a brown person, as a femme, as a queer person. I'm always my intersection at all times. But it doesn't mean that I can't relate to other things. I mean, I literally am an American-born person who has to watch American-born media, which literally rarely reflects me. So I don't say I'm not white, but I like whatever TV show. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, it's not a natural thing for me to say. And it tends to mostly be white people if you're talking about race issues.
Yes.
although brown people, if they're not from the same category, it can still happen too. Straight people, if they enter gay space, but especially when it's a queer space, when it's a straight person entering a queer space, the instant things is like, I don't want you to think I'm gay.
Yeah.
That's what we get no matter what you intend. That's what it means. And it's just like, what's wrong with being...
Just because we're gay doesn't mean we're attracted to you.
Well, there's that, but there's also just like, it's not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing.
And it could be that you're just programmed. I know we have a plan for today's episode, and I didn't even hit you with this in advance. It just it crept up into my heart. You know, like it's just not bad.
No.
So you saying I'm not gay, but tells me you think there's something bad about it.
Well,
even if you don't intend it that way, I think the world tells you that it's okay to say shit like that. It's literally not.
Well, you know, transparency here. Even I was doing it, where I was going, well, you know, I'm queer, but you know, I'm white, and you're like, and
yeah, and I'm like, that's true. I have caught you on that before. It was like,
my suffering, you know, my, you know, they're like, yeah, well, you're still like, you know, and so. And we're trying to have conversations that involved intersectionality.
Yeah, that's the goal.
And that's the goal. So this doesn't matter. You don't need to be queer to be here.
You don't need to be queer to be here.
I just did that.
I love you did that. It was excellent. It's going to end up on a t-shirt at some point. I love that. Yeah, you don't have to be queer to be here. You don't have to be brown. Like, it's really, if you're from, you know, like, I mean, the information that we're going to be sharing, especially on today's episode, goes for everybody.
Everyone.
Of course, it doesn't matter. It's just that our target audience that we're looking for, or the people that we want to help the most, are people that come from marginalized groups, because those are the people who probably have less access. And or the world has told you this is not for you. Don't try this. And we're going to try it. And so while you have more opportunities to blend in as a straight assumed, woman assumed white person who is more expected to be an expat in places, that doesn't mean that you're not also having to maneuver. Is this a safe space for me to walk around at 10 o'clock at night? Is this a safe space for me to, if someone gets a hint of me being a queer person, you know, like all those types of things are at play for you as well. So it was just in my heart. It wasn't in the plan, but I immediately felt like I needed to say it, because it was just like ripped me to shreds. As soon as I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, our first comment. Oh, you know, like it was so like up and down.
You belong here too.
Yeah,
you belong here too. Because like, okay, sure, you're straight, but you might have a family member who's gay.
But even not, like, again, I think this happened on last episode too, is when we were talking about empathy, like the Chick-fil-A thing, right? My friend tells me they're not gay, so the Chick-fil-A thing isn't a problem for them. You don't have to, that's not how empathy has to work. You don't have to be like, I'm not from this category, and therefore I can't extend empathy, and therefore it's not for me, but I wanted to let you know I was here. Like, whatever the thing is.
And why is it that you, like, for my people, why is it for us that it's almost like we have to digest the trauma that you're going through for us to empathize what you're going through? Why is that a requirement?
You could literally be like, I'm a person that doesn't want shitty things to happen in the world. Like it's that easy.
It's that easy. Yeah. You know, like it's like, you know, Black people are humans. Yes.
Yeah.
They experience the same things I do. Yes. Sometimes they experience other things outside of you. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's just, it was in my heart. So I wanted to say it. And, you know, hopefully I don't lose the 1 out of 12 people we have listening to this.
No, stay. Sit down.
But anyways, today we did have a goal of kind of, since we're sort of charting this sort of backwards, but from the beginning of our journeys, we wanted to start talking about like, what was the research process like for us, or what it currently is, because it's constantly changing. Literally 2 seconds before I was about to press record the first time, you were like, oh crap, this law just changed, or this rule just changed, or something like that. So like, it's a constant thing up until the point that we leave. And even once we're gone,
it's going to change.
the responsibility is going to be on us to know what's happening so that we don't violate laws, so that we stay up above board across the board and everything like that. So that's what we're getting into today. Do you want to talk first a little bit about like, because you did a spreadsheet, which I still haven't seen the spreadsheet, but like you've had a spreadsheet going for the amount of years we've been talking about it. I'll send you things and you'll be like, all right, it's going on the spreadsheet. So you want to talk about how you started your process?
Surprise. You have to do your own research in it. Every country's different. They have different rules. Sometimes within different states or provinces, depending on where you're going in different countries. So all of this is subject to change. So one of the things, so I think one of the most important things for everybody to do when they get started, and I think we gleaned this on our last episode, but is to really sit down and write down what are your needs. And you're not going to get everything because you're not going to think about certain things. Yeah. Right. You just assume certain things work a certain way. But for me, it was, I needed to make sure that we could, the budget is, we could live comfortably with 2 people for about $2,400 a month. Okay. That was a requirement for it. It was that I wanted to be able to stay there longer than 30 days because I really wanted to get to know something. And I don't think I'm going to know an area just for 30 days. Right. I mean, it's nice, but I wanted to stay at least 3 months at a time. One of my other requirements is I want to be able to take my animals. I had three dogs. The other one, my requirements that I had put down was I needed it to be relatively safe for LGBTQ. I wanted, I first started off going if they spoke English, but that is my,
I mean, it's a fine one to start with because Tree also has that too, where he was concerned about not having access to the language, and it's really like that is also our responsibility when we go there, but it shouldn't necessarily preclude us from like we travel the world and we've gone to places where English wasn't the main language.
Right. And so, but that's less of it now, and we're going to go into because we are taking classes, or you're doing. I can't remember.
I'm doing Pimsleur and Duolingo, and
I'm doing Babbel.
Tree is doing Duolingo as if it's Chivo hunting on Xbox. Like he is constantly. He's just like 1,200 XP in the first last 4 hours, and
if
like
it's motivated, keep it up.
Yeah. And every time I say a word that we both know in Spanish, because we've both taken the same portion, he'll correct me if I say it in English to say it in Spanish and stuff like that. So
that's great. And I also thank you so much for that video. It really helped Jeff with the say a star.
Oh, sir, and a star. Yeah. There's a few. That person's TikTok is Blacklingual, I think it is.
That's awesome. I follow them now.
And they they'll break down something that we were just having a conversation like, how do you distinguish these two things? And there's a number of videos that person does, so that explains those. But it's probably simple if that's the language you grew up in. But when you come from a language that doesn't have masculine, feminine, or doesn't have like the verb doesn't change depending on who you're saying and stuff like that,
and how you're saying it.
Yeah. So I've been following a bunch of
which is good,
multilingual people,
which is good. Let's see what other rules. Oh, we need internet and stable internet and some of the higher speed internet. I think we had we needed 50 Mbps plus is doable. 100 is ideal. I'm just repeating what I was told. I don't know.
No, that sounds right to me too, because we both do stuff from home, and we both have spouses that are in the tech field and stuff like that. So it's important for them.
We need to be able to work and upload, download, and things like that. So we need more than a tin can.
When we were talking about needs, though, like I know you probably already had this going on your spreadsheet, but you had texted me one day when it was like, yes, this is going to happen. Let's do it in the next year. You were like, text me all your needs so I can add it to the thing. And then you even said like, here's the ones I know, the pets, the internet, and then I just started randomly remembering stuff that are like daily needs. And then Tree inserted some too. So I know that's Like, well, literally, it's list time, motherfuckers. Like, if you're about to go and do this, you need to start writing all kinds of lists.
Check it twice. And you're going to change it. It's going to change, because I know mine has changed. I don't know how many times.
Yeah.
And it's probably subject to change as we move along.
Sure.
Access to healthcare. Some countries will allow you. Some of them have universal healthcare where, hands down, you come in, they have public health. For example, my mother traveled to Ireland a few years ago before the pandemic, slipped and fell in the middle of nowhere visiting some castle and knocked her ass out and had to be airlifted by a helicopter to a couple of hours away to the closest like hospital that she could go to. She paid in total for that entire fiasco and the stay in the hospital and all the I think it was like $800 American total.
Wow. That's insane.
Right. And I know like just an ambulance ride that's 15 minutes in America is like
$3,500.
Yeah.
Right? I was like,
so and that was you know, she had to pay into the system, but it technically she was using their public health. But like, for example, Germany, that's not an option. You want to stay there for a longer period of time, you have to buy insurance and you have to prove you have insurance. For example, I'm just going to give you guys an example. For a business or a visitor visa, you have to prove that you have an insurance that will cover up to $30,000.
So you're back home, your American insurance.
You have to go get travel insurance.
Oh, I see. To
get something that is something like that. Now, it gets becoming even more complicated if you're trying to stay there even longer. So, but again, these are all things. So, you know what? The honest one, the one that I started off with the most is a website. We will be putting the links in, but this is from Ash and Lyric. So it's AsherFerguson.com, and they were posting the best and worst countries for LGBTQ travel in 2022. So it has been relatively updated. And it goes from, and so here are some of the criterias. If any one of you make judgments in the internet.
We don't do it live. I can always clip it out.
Okay. No, but I just want to know if any of you are going to make comments about how many internet sites I have open right now. Shush.
It's fine.
Okay, here we go. Ta-da.
Boom.
So as you can see, legalized same-sex marriage, and then it'll give you certain ways. Then they have, you know, workers' rights, protection against discrimination, so on and so forth. Here's a big one for my transgender loved ones. Okay. So as you can see, we're going to start off with the worst. So Brunei, tisk. Okay. So this is a no-go for us, right? So pretty much I sort of made a decision that when I scrolled down originally, America is around, where are you, America? There you go, 24. And honestly,
24th worst or 24th best?
24th best.
Okay. So
they get a if you could see here, a B. Right. Some states don't offer protections against discrimination. See, now that now that things are changing. And in fact, America, I think, was around a B plus when I was last looking. So we've dropped a few.
I'm honestly surprised we're as high as we are.
I am too. I don't think this is because it's happening so quickly.
Yeah, that's true.
So, but as you can see, number one, ta-da, Canada.
So it's very small on my screen, so I can't see.
Yeah. So Canada is number one. And honestly, guys, this is like, and the last time I looked at this was a couple of months ago. This has changed because the last time I was here, I believe it was like Sweden and was like the number one. But as you can see, Canada's number one, Sweden's number two, Netherlands, Malta.
Malta was high on the list for a period of time.
Yes, until I found out they have an absolute ban on abortions.
Yeah.
Like if you are bleeding out, you need to be airlifted to another country.
If you can afford it.
If you can, or you can just die.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like if menopause kicks in the next couple of years, Malta will go back on the list. But so long as I am potentially fertile, unfortunately that killed Malta for me. But Malta was really high on the list. Sweden and Netherlands was high on the Netherlands in particular was higher on the list, but both come with a lot of requirements that we aren't prepared to meet yet to get there. So
right.
I'm super, super surprised that the United States is as high as it is.
Right. But if you think about it, they're being beat out by countries that don't make sense now. Like Ireland.
Like they're being beat out by South Africa.
And South Africa. Anyway, it's just food for thought.
It's interesting. It's interesting.
So there you go. So this is some of the things that I look at. And, but the other one I think it was interesting, we just take a moment, was when I go down to Brazil. Brazil actually has excellent, their laws and everything, but their murder rate of trans people is extremely high. Now, I honestly, there's two things that get me stuck is at least they're reporting it because it's really low when I look in other countries. So I don't know if they're being reported.
Oh, that makes sense because we're barely reporting it here.
Right. So, and our numbers are high here.
The other thing that I would like to see on this chart that I'm not 100% sure is reflected is specifically a category having to do with Black and brown, queer, and trans people. That
would be really nice. I totally agree with you. And then it's very tiny on your screen, but here are all the sources on where they get all their information. Okay.
That's pretty great. That's pretty helpful.
I thought so. Yeah. And honestly, it's color coded.
It's color coordination really does help my brain. So that's good.
And I like that.
Where's Mexico? We didn't look at that.
Mexico
is where we're starting our journey.
Hold on.
Oh, we're in a sea in Mexico.
We're in a sea in Mexico because they don't have transgender laws. Now, when I reach out to people there, they're like, depending on where you are, but everybody just leaves you alone. But there's nothing on the books. So now again, I don't want to speak for my transgender loved ones. However, when I have spoken to them about how they feel about this, they went, "You mean so I'll just be ignored, or I might just get treated the same way I'm treated in America?" Okay.
But you pay less.
That's the thing, because I have a friend down there and right now that's in Mexico City that is a transgender woman, and she literally moved from the South, where like a month and a half ago she was assaulted in a parking lot of a Walmart, and nobody helped her. She was running around asking for help because this man was chasing her and threatening her because he clocked her as a trans woman. And all she wanted to do was go grocery shopping while trans. And so she just went, "That's it. I'm done." And she's never traveled, period. She's never traveled in the United States, let alone whatever. And she just up and said, "I'm going to do it." And she went, and she's in Mexico City. So, and though case in point, so she makes $15 an hour. She does digital nomad stuff. So it makes about $2,100 a month. Now, living in the South, she still was paying like $1,100 for a really tiny studio. So now she's living in a 1-bedroom, fully furnished, all utilities included, internet, everything, air conditioning. Because in Mexico, guys, some places charge separate for air conditioning. Some people don't use it. The rent is $565 a month.
Yeah, so that's an interesting thing that we can probably get into too, is weighing where we're going against if it's not that much different than the United States in terms of safety, but you can afford healthcare and you can afford to live. I'm not opposed to that for me. For me, I agree. If I can save, because right now we're paying $1,600 a month for health insurance that we can't afford to actually use. But we're required to keep this plan because it was the lowest plan that was available to my spouse's employment insurance. And it fucking sucks because we both have knee problems. I got some dental work I need done. You know, I have this thing I need to get removed that I was talking about previously, and none of this stuff we have access to, none of this stuff we can use. I also would just like to highlight that on the screen we do have a disclaimer. We are regular ass podcasters, not experts. Please consult your own travel experts, tax accountants, and lawyers before you move. Yes. We are just offering some tips and tricks, or at least where to go to start doing your own research. And your situation is going to be different than our situation, just like our situations is different from each other.
So if something fucks up, don't blame us.
Don't blame us. That's everybody's responsible for their own research. But hopefully this is a guide that helps get you to the spot where you need to make your decision. Right. You know, go to and so you can make your decisions.
I had Puerto Rico on, even though Puerto Rico technically is a U.S. territory, not because they want to be, because that's just how we do
life. Yeah.
I took it off our list. I took it off my personal list of where to move to because one, after speaking to a lot of native Puerto Ricans, like who live there. And I asked them, is there any way that people, especially Americans, could come to Puerto Rico without colonizing? And they said at this point, no. Even if you were to come as a tourist, you're feeding a system that's hurting. Yes, and that's another one. Hawaii, even though, yes, America, and again, looking into that history and realizing they never wanted to be a state. Yeah. Just sort of took it. That they're at this point, please don't come.
Yeah.
You're feeding a system that's keeping us down.
Yeah.
So I took Puerto Rico off the list. Although one day, hopefully, if we behave ourselves, I would love to go and see. So.
Yeah, I still would like to visit Puerto Rico and sure that is probably sounding because I started to plan one. Remember, I was sending you like I kind of want to do this. But yeah, that's tough. The other part with Hawaii is Hawaii was on my move list because I have half of my family lives there. Mm-hmm. And for me, when I feel like I'm going to Hawaii, I don't feel like I'm going on vacation. I've never done any of the touristy things. I haven't done Diamond Head, all that kind of stuff. But I go to visit family. I just wanted to be closer to them, but it's such a quick impact. Like you instantly impact negatively Hawaii when you go as a tourist or as a person that's trying to move there. The way that we've impacted their rent and their mortgages and their taxes and stuff like that just by our presence there fucking sucks for the people that are from there. And my family is not native to there. Well, some of my cousins' children are because they're married to Hawaiians. Mm-hmm. But most of my family is Japanese, and they moved there when my great grandparents moved there like 50 years ago because it was warmer climate than where they lived in Japan. So like for me, it's a tug of war because there's part of me that feels like I'm just going to go visit my family. Oh, really? Japan is that low?
Yeah,
technically we don't even have a word. Like there's all this talk like we don't even have a word for gay. There's no gay Japanese people.
Nothing.
It's like
there's no protection. There is no laws. There is nothing.
Yeah, so that's tough because I will eventually spend at least 1 year in Japan because it is a partial homeland of mine. But that's going to be a tough thing. I don't want to live there permanently, but I would do want to live there.
You had mentioned it, and so let's segue. Many of these countries that are high up on the LGBTQ index experience a lot of anti-Blackness.
Yeah.
And this is
going to be anywhere I go.
Anywhere you go. But yes, but like, this is like, not only is it something that I don't have any of the stuff pulled up now, but there have been studies, and I have actually talked to or listened to a lot of Black, brown, traveling folks who say that sometimes when they know you're American and also Black, they treat you better.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of times they, because they see your skin color first.
Yeah.
You're clocked. And that
happens in France. So
Italy.
The French
really bad in Italy.
They're Black people worse than they treat Black Americans.
Yes.
Because with the title American comes all this different clout in the world. And for them, Black people are immigrants in their mind, and even if they've been there for generations, and Black Americans, I don't know why they afford like Black Americans are in the exact same position as many Black French people if our families came over during enslavement, or if our families came over in some form of immigration having to do with enslavement somewhere, and yet they still treat American Black people better than they treat their own Black people.
Yeah. So first I started here, and I started putting things on my spreadsheet, giving the and I mean, gosh, the last time I looked at Mexico was a C. So things have changed, or maybe other things have other countries are doing it just better, because Mexico was a B- last time, and now they're a C.
Oh, interesting.
So and here's the thing, all these numbers, all these people in this list,
mm-hmm.
the Canada was here last time. These were not. United Kingdom, I mean, they were still like in the top 10. So there's been a concerted effort. Honestly, a concerted effort has actually happened a lot. Like Ireland has been shocking the shit out of me with some of the stuff that they're pushing through, and yay for them. Also Israel. But anyway, so that's just one of the things that
Israel still has an apartheid situation that they need to deal with, and
yes,
I will not condone.
We will not. We will not be. No, we will not. And just because we're not going to condone it, that doesn't mean, I know that for you, because I know you're coming. That doesn't mean that I'm anti-Semitic. Like I can be pro something and against like hurting somebody else. So knock it off. Anybody that's going to come in here and do that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that was some of the ones. So, for example, the average, let's say one of the other things, like, I got to tell you, Spain knocked themselves out of the park. Like their average internet is like 207, which is really,
that's pretty, the Mbps stuff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That I think the best one that I looked at was like Singapore. It's just that I can't afford Singapore.
I know, but it's funny. I know so many people who have either lived there or moved there or have come here from there and gone back. Like Singapore seems like a place to go, but I feel like as an Asian, I need to go to Japan before I go to another Asian country.
Okay. You have priorities.
That's strictly as a mixed Asian. Like I feel like,
so I'm going to go back a page. So another one, guys, that I think that would be useful for anybody that's of working age, because everybody's going to do something different. Somebody who's already retired, they're not going to think of things the way I have to think about things.
You're right. Yeah.
I still work. You still work. We still have to make payments. So many countries actually, why am I trying to scroll on the, anyway, sorry. Okay, we're good. Noob. I'm just living up to my name. That's all. And then, so these are just like 42 countries that allow digital nomad, meaning you can work from anywhere and work there. And some of their fees, and everything's different. So for example, when I last looked up from Mexico, because I'm sorry, I'm sticking with Mexico, guys, but
well, I mean, that's specific to our journey and we're charting our journey. We just happen to have some information about a couple other places.
So one of the things that it's slightly different is you need to show that you have 43,000, meaning you make $43,000 a year for one person.
That does say bank balance though. Oh, for the last 12 months. Copy that. Okay.
So like how much money? So income has to be this for the last, like you have to have income has to be this for the last 6 months when bringing a dependent, increase that by this. So this is drastically changed. Hold on.
Yeah, because I think it was like
1,600. It was 1,600 last time that I looked, and the bank balance was 27.
And I've seen this recently on a Black expat group that I'm in on the Facebooks. They said that things were higher than expected based off the website, but they weren't counting their spouse as a dependent. But if you're gonna go where one person is like head of household, the other partner would be a dependent. So you would add that 861 to that. And like in my case, my spouse has a day job and I'm a freelancer, so we're going to go off of their income and I'm going to be a dependent in that case. So in that case, that's how we're going to be doing stuff.
Be an owner of Mexican property worth like that's something separate for a different type.
Oh, that's interesting. That's like buying your way into.
So there are certain countries that you can buy your citizenship by buying something.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
I got a cat meowing in the background.
But like I said, like the last time when I updated this last, which again this was a couple months ago, guys, it was $1,600 a month. For one person, it was like add $800 for every dependent. And then it was a $27,000 living a year. You needed to at least prove that you can make that a year. So apparently now that's gone up to 43.
27,000 was what it was at before, but now it's at 43.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's still entry level job in the United States.
Entry level job and unfortunately, that seems to be the average medium income across most states. Mm-hmm. I mean, some states will be 35, like West Virginia. Virginia is very low. Kentucky is very low. Indiana, 35 to about 42,000 a year.
I'm sure that the explosion of digital nomads over the during the pandemic is the reason why this has changed so much. I'm hoping that this is a way that benefits Mexico in a positive way, but gentrification and all kinds of stuff, are probably, I don't know how they're tracking that. And that will be interesting for us to.
Honestly, I think Mexico in many ways was kind of tired of our shit. We talk shit about them and yet we are constantly down there and staying down there and we weren't paying our fair share. So they raised it. I mean, is that inconvenience for us? Sure, but I get it. And it's still cheaper than us. So if you look down here, it says like average internet was like 35. But like when I did look at like some of the places down in Merida in particular, it was at least 50. So again, pay it in mind, guys, if you're going to be up in the mountains somewhere, the internet's going to be kind of rough. So
yeah. Well, I think the things to account for, depending on where you move, is the climate and how that impacts energy and the access to internet because of the difficulty of getting it to a place. If you want to live on the beach or on a mountaintop, you're probably going to sacrifice some, even if you have the best possible internet that they have available.
Right.
It still probably won't be what you need for work, or access or whatever.
The other types of visas that people should look into, not just with Mexico, but with others, but also with Mexico. If you have family descendants, you can actually apply for dual citizenship because of your lineage. That can also happen if you can trace, if you are fortunate enough to be able to trace your ancestry to other countries. For example, Germany, if you can prove that some of your family left between like the 1930s and the 1950s, you can apply for dual citizenship. That's the same thing for Ireland and Italy. Caveat for Ireland right now, because of the pandemic, they are behind. Yeah. And they have told me that if you've already have your application in, they are behind 3 years.
And you have your application in, right? Like that's
I
how
didn't
you
even.
found out?
I went to go do it, and they're like, "Don't even bother." I was like,
dang." Okay. So that's something that I'm actually eligible for in the UK because my grandmother is from England, and
you might also be able to do it from Japan.
No, so Japan is different. Japan does not allow for dual citizenship, and the very few dual citizens that there are, a friend of mine happens to be one. When she was born, her father got on a plane right the fuck away and went back to Japan and filed her paperwork because it also has to be done by a native Japanese person. It has to be written in Japanese, the whole thing. So he went after every child was born, he went directly there and filed them. So they do all have Japanese citizenship and they do all have Japanese passports. And then they were born here. So they're American. They have American passports. So they travel with 2 passports. For me to become a Japanese citizen, I would have to relinquish my American citizenship and I would have to adopt a Japanese name, which would not be difficult for me because I have 2 Japanese families that I come from. If I wanted to do that. On the UK side, though, my grandmother's so I have a Japanese grandmother. That's what we're talking about. On the UK side, my grandmother is from England, and she's of Welsh and English heritage. I have looked into it, and I've done a consultation with a immigration lawyer, and there is like ancestry stuff that they have to set up.
Yes.
So I can provide some stuff that I've found on ancestry.com, like my grandparents' marriage certificate and stuff like that. And some paperwork about my great grandparents or my great grandparents. So it actually won't be hard to prove my ancestry lineage, but there's still a couple $1,000s that are involved in doing that, you know. And then on top of that, I think there's two different ways it can go. You can be either granted citizenship with the sacrifice of my American citizenship, or I could be granted dual citizenship depending on what I'm willing to pay for and then how much time I can spend there.
Right.
So eventually that is on my list. I do eventually want to hold.
It's on my list too. I've been dragging my feet since I was like, okay, I'm focusing on, it was more of an issue when I was thinking about more doing Europe. For example, guys, for me to apply for my citizenship for Italy, it would be about $375 American. And then I have that. And then, so if I wanted to travel, let's say I wanted to be in Spain, then I have a digital nomad visa to be in Spain for 3 months. But then after that, and I want to be clear, every place is different, but usually it's 180 days a year. Unless you reapply, and only certain places allow digital nomad visas. And I believe for like Spain has a 12-month one that you have to apply for.
You have to do like the 3-month one first, and then you can apply for a 12-month one or something like that. Yeah.
So in Mexico, you are allowed to do the digital nomad one up for a year, and you're allowed to reapply 4 times. After that, you have to apply for different types of residency. Okay. So again, every place is different. I think the thing that stopped me or stops a lot of us is because it's so different and up in the air, and there's so many different rules, we get overloaded. Yeah. And then we go, I just don't want to do it because what if I fuck up? Well, okay.
Because it's scary. Then we're never going to go. If I fuck up, do I get to come back home? You know, like, do I get to come back, or do I mess that? You know, there's so many things that I think come into play for a lot of people who aren't really sure what to do with this. And in my case, the UK dual citizenship thing is, I actually wouldn't mind living in England. England is the only country of ancestral origin that I've been to, of every, of Japan, Gabon, everything. And I feel at home there. I enjoy being there. My spouse did grow up there as a American, military kid, and probably doesn't want to move back, but understands that that's one of the things on my list. Like, I want to be able to hold the dual citizenship because I can, and because I can't in Japan. I also was in the process of applying for the 6th region citizenship for the continent, for Africa. The 6th region is so. For African citizenship, they consider the 5 regions: North, East, West, South, and I forget what the 5th one is. But the 6th region, the 5th one is like anybody who is from the diaspora in general. The 6th region is for those of us who were taken. And so to apply to the 6th region, if you are the descendant of African enslaved people, you can get a citizenship based off of that. And in some cases, you do it by continent, like that. You can literally do it by the continent, which is the 6th region, or you can do it by country. By country.
Because I know Uganda does it, and Uganda and Ghana. And
Ghana does it. So I am of my heritage, some of my African heritage is from Gabon, and I do want to spend some time there at some point too. Not because I think I'm going to be able to immerse entirely, especially in terms of the people that I come from, the Koda people. They're still tribal people. They're still out there. They're a pygmy tribe, a polygamous pygmy tribe. So more than likely, I won't be able to immerse myself into that culture, but I would like to spend some time in Gabon as just seeing if I can feel like I'm walking in the steps of my ancestors in some way, shape, or form. During my process of application, though.
Yes.
My father was born in Germany on American base. I cannot get access to his birth certificate. I've tried. It's very difficult. short of actually like just going there, I don't know that it's going to be easy for me to ever get this birth certificate. So I'm like, okay, let me see if I can get his death certificate. And at least, he's named on my birth certificate. So if they see my birth certificate, his death certificate, and I explain that he was born in Germany and maybe it'll work out. So I apply and I get his death certificate. It takes a couple months to get it in the mail. Under ethnicity and race, my father is listed as white. My father is not white. I don't understand what happened. So I don't know who.
That's literal whitewashing.
So technically, yes, my father is half white. He has a white mother from England and a black father from America. But in terms of race category, my father is black. He is brown skinned. He was brown skinned. He had an afro. He's black.
How perfectly?
Ethnically, he is mixed. Ethnically, he is biracial, but racially, he is black. The difference between him and I is I do not have a race, but I have ethnicity. I have my list of ethnicities, but I don't have a racial category because I'm too ambiguous in my presentation. Yeah. My dad is unambiguously black, though. To look at him, you know that you're looking at a black man.
Right.
He just happens to have a white mom. That's the thing. He's not light. He wasn't light skinned, nothing. He was a black man. There's no way to accidentally code him as white. So I don't know if it's a coroner. I don't know who fills out the paperwork for the death certificate that would have checked the box white. But I have tried to find out how to go about this. I'm like, my dad's race is incorrect on his death certificate. I do not have an answer. So I can't even apply to the 6th region citizenship because I cannot prove on paper. So the thing is, my dad's race is listed on my birth certificate, but his death certificate lists a different race. So I either can't prove my father is my father, or I can't prove that my father is black.
So I'm wondering if I'm writing it down to look into it. I'm going to talk to a lawyer and see if a lawyer client, and I'm going to see if there's maybe somebody that can petition for you to get the birth certificate from
the military.
For the military.
Well, the other part is I assume he was born on a military base because they were military and they were stationed there at the time. I can ask one of my uncles, but I don't know. Like, I don't even know if my uncle would know if he was sent to because sometimes like some births were sent to the local German hospital. Right. If that's the case, you do physically have to go to Germany to get those birth certificates, from what I understand. But if it's the military, I should be able to apply through the military. I have tried this and I have not received any responses. So I don't really know how to go about it.
I will put a note. I will put a pin in it, and I'm gonna.
But it's so wild. Like I did an episode on this on Militantly Mixed called "Born Black, Died White," about me discovering that my father died white on paper. I do have a stepmother. I could reach out to her, but we were never on good terms. So it would be really weird after all these years of not talking to be like, hey. You don't need to know why I asked for my dad's death certificate, but I found out that he's white on the death certificate, and I need you to fix that. What do I do?
I don't even know how do you go. A new friend that I had met through TikTok was showing me their birth certificate and their parents' birth certificates and it said under ethnicity, it says yellow.
Oh no, yeah, mine says Jap. I was born in California. My mother is listed as Cauc/Jap, CAUC./JAP, no dot. My dad is listed as Black/Cauc, CAUC dot. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So their ethnicity and race are listed on my birth certificate in order of their fathers. Right. So my mother's father is white, and that's why his is named first, and then Japanese next, but they said Japan next. My dad's father is black, so he's listed as black first. And since he's listed as black first, I'm listed as black first.
Right.
But yeah, my birth certificate says Jap on it.
And for many of you who are listening or watching and saying, why does it matter? You were born in America. There are certain privileges that definitely come from being born in America, because as an American, we are allowed to travel to a lot of different countries
without visas
or without extra visas. There are certain groups of people who don't look like me that are not allowed to travel safely just because they had the mishap of being born not sorry, yeah, you're right, that's not the right way to put it. It's because they weren't born American, or they weren't born in a white accepted country.
Yeah,
that's the truth. Like, I mean, if you were born in Egypt or any of the other countries within Africa, like, there are so many restrictions that is.
Yeah, it's almost like a lottery to be able to leave the countries.
That's it.
The weird thing about being an American citizen is that I experience more privileges abroad than I do in America. As a brown person, as a femme person, I always get stopped at customs. I always struggle to get through it. Yeah. I haven't been able to apply for global entry yet, and since I'm actually in the process of waiting for my renewal passport, that'll be something I try this time around. See if that happens this time around. But yeah, I always get stopped. So I experience, and then just people knowing I'm American, I get more access when I travel than I do in my own home country. Which again, another reason why, like, if I'm not a full citizen here, why am I here? I might as well be a non-full citizen somewhere else, you know?
Right. I had the privilege of being able to travel when I was younger. My parents could afford to take us to other countries when I was small, and it allowed me to have privileges. Thank you for making that go away. Should have done that a long time ago. It allowed me to have a different perspective from a very young age, even though looking back, it was still an Americanized white, thing, seeing that through that type of lens. But one of the things that I thought was really weird, I was 11 and I was in Fiji, and I remember meeting, we were dining at a resort. I was staying on another part of the island because my family owns land, and so we were staying there, and then we were dining at this place, and we were sitting at a group table, and a whole bunch of Americans were sitting there, and a whole bunch of different Americans of different skin color, Asian Americans, Black Americans, and I was noticing everybody was talking and whatever. And then some of us were even actually going home to America on the plane together. And I remember having this conscious thought as a young person and thinking that's odd, but I couldn't really digest it and take it apart. But we were so, oh, you're American, America, like, hi, American friend, we're going to eat. And as soon as
so these were strangers, but because you were all Americans.
That I had never met, but we had just, we because we were Americans, all of a sudden we had camaraderie, right? Because we're Americans. On an outside of American soil. But as soon as we stepped back on American soil,
they were Black, they were Asian, they were white.
And it's not like I didn't see that they were Black, they were Asian. Did. Yes, it was just that we went our different.
Yeah, because I'm not. You've heard me describe myself as American foreigner, and actually, my at UC Santa Cruz, my final documentary, I called it American Foreigner because I was born here, and yet I'm not treated as a full citizen in many cases, and because I also have two grandmothers that are from different countries, and those grandmothers were a big part of who raised me in my formative years. I don't identify as American very often. Like I have to remind myself that I'm American because I really do feel in the way that I'm treated and the way I have access, the way I'm questioned. But in certain cases, I am treated like a non-American. So I have not much of a different experience than my Japanese grandmother does, in terms of how I'm viewed, even though I have an American accent. I was born here. My birth certificate is American. My passport's American. But when I travel abroad, when someone calls me American, I clutch my chest at first, like, ew, no. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I do tell people that I'm a British American. I'll say I'm a Black, Japanese, British American. I know that's not true. I know I'm not British. I know that I'm not technically British, but I say it because I feel like I need to indicate the Japanese and the British. I need to indicate that what I have going on is not American.
Right.
My Blackness is American, but even that comes with second citizenship. So it's one of the big things I think as we start to wrap up is one of the big things that I think you and I, when we're talking about the stuff that I need versus the stuff that you need, some of it is protection of my citizenship to a degree. Like that is why I want to get a UK passport, because between the two passports, I'm going to have clout somewhere. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like I need that extra layer of protection when I travel, because you never know. Like, it was so much easier to go to England than it was to come home.
Yeah.
And even though I'm a Yank and everything like that, when I'm there, eventually it's identified that I'm there, that I'm from there, that I am of there in some way, shape, or form. I get some form of acceptance there. That probably comes a lot with the fact that my cousin is with me and he's a white male.
Right.
Like that, but you know what I'm saying? But yeah, there's aspects of this, and I know this will be the research aspects of this show, the things that we'll share will be a multi-episode thing, and we'll come back to it. We won't do it every single time, but we'll jump back and forth between it. But the biggest thing, and I think why it's taken us so many years, besides just like the actual, like we talked about last time, turning our why into now, part of what has delayed us is the uncertainty about, have we researched enough? Do we know exactly why? And even trying to figure out what the motivation is.
The pandemic.
The pandemic, actually, I know the pandemic is honestly, if the pandemic, I did agree to start doing the comic book shop a few months before the pandemic hit, but had I not done that and had the pandemic not happened, it probably would have happened that we would have moved to Arizona to be closer to you.
Yeah.
While we work towards getting out of here.
While we worked. I remember 2020 was going to be like where I was switching gears to do things. And then I had to
we were
switch
talking
gears
about
just
it,
to keep my business
that sounds amazing
afloat in the middle of. Yeah. So, I did have a question that somebody had sent me, and they asked me, anonymous. I don't know.
Okay. we can answer the question before we get out of here.
They were saying, how do you
do I need to put we're not experts?
We're not experts. Yeah, go ahead. We're not experts. I think we're going to talk about this as an opinion. Someone had said, hey, did you see that this week Mexico was having some massive amounts of violence? And I said, yes, I am aware of what's happening in Tijuana. And I don't know everything, the ins and outs. I'm not a professional, y'all, but essentially the Mexican cartel is literally at war with the Mexican military there, and they literally locked down. And when I locked down Tijuana, they were burning cars and shooting, and there was shootings in the streets, and they were shooting at citizens and unarmed travelers and so on and so forth.
The cartels were?
The cartels were, yes. Okay. And I'm sure the military, because, bullets go where bullets fly. Okay. So, I mean,
that's true.
And then there were many cartel members were captured, and then in retaliation, the cartel kidnapped military people. And so we're going back and forth, and I believe it's still ongoing. Now, yes.
Some were traded, right?
I think they were in discussion. Last time I was looking, there was a discussion, but I think you're correct. Some trades have happened.
Yeah.
So yes, that is happening. And first and foremost, like, Tijuana is a border town.
It's a border town next to California. It's one part of Mexico.
It's a one part that has an additional issue outside of lots of things. And also that violence was happening across at the
on the other side of the border.
And the other side as well here in the United States was happening here too. But case in point, guys, today is what? August the 20th?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. United States, as of today, and we're not at the end of the day. Okay. As of today, we are at 424 mass shootings in America.
Just today, that has happened today.
We are at a total
mass shootings that have happened since January 1st.
happened.
Right? Okay.
Yes. Okay. And while I believe 20 something people were killed in Tijuana, that's horrible. Okay. To date, the actual people killed so far, children under the age of 11, 216.
And in the United States?
In the United States. Teenagers between 12 and 17, 858. And I'm not talking about injured, because if I talk about injured, it's at 2,396. Y'all, mass shootings are now the number one leading cause of anybody under the age of 21.
That's insane.
Not car accidents, not drowning, not drug use, not murder.
Car accidents were the major killer for so many years.
Not cancer, not anything. Mass shootings.
It's so crazy. Here's the other part. And we can maybe do a whole episode on this.
Okay.
But the people that are in our lives that try to dissuade us from taking this journey by saying that place is dangerous or that place is fill in the blank. One, what's the win? What's the move? I don't understand.
Yeah.
Why are you trying to prevent?
What are you trying to say?
But using that as a way without really even fathoming or understanding. Yes, United States, we are a way bigger country.
Yes.
Than Mexico.
Okay.
Sure, fine. Bigger numbers. But even if you break things down like ratio to size of country and stuff like that, because I don't know where that is, but I have seen something like that. We just kill people at a higher rate. We just kill people at a higher rate than a lot of these other places. And while we're not actively moving, we're not actively choosing a city that is known for violence.
No.
Doesn't mean that violence will not happen there. The same way me moving from Los Angeles to Houston doesn't guarantee my safety. Like there's still violence in every city that we live in. You can't prevent that. Like that, you can't. There's not one place on this earth that is so peaceful, that some form of violence can't happen.
Right. But I also, it's sus because you guys want to talk about violence that's happening in brown countries, but you don't want to talk about that Asian violence has gone up 336% since the beginning of the pandemic. In the United States. I'm not talking about worldwide. I'm talking about the United States.
Yeah.
And also my people have a really fucked up version of what violence is. They only see violence as
something that happens in Black and brown communities.
Right. Or, like violence is only when you hit somebody.
Yeah.
Like however everyone lost their freaking mind about Will Smith and the slap.
Right.
Like they didn't want to talk about the violence that led up to that.
Yeah. Or the fact that for 20 years this has been a conflict between them.
And again, I do understand that this is I'm not, I'm allowed to have opinions about everything, but I'm not supposed to be having like this conversation. But my thing is my thing is, what is violence? You guys say it's shooting someone, it's slapping someone, it's hitting one. Well, I also, okay, fine, I'll agree with that, but I also say violence is denying access to healthcare.
Yeah.
Denying access to clean water.
Yeah.
Like for our indigenous loved ones. Not having access to safe and clean housing.
Yeah.
That's violent.
Yeah.
Not having access to food.
And as we talked about last time, putting children in debt for lunches.
That's
for
violent.
School lunches. Yeah.
And if you guys want to have that conversation, I'll go, but you better be aware to go toe to toe, and you better be doing your research, and you better be looking in the mirror and saying, if you have the audacity to take a look at what's happening in Tijuana or anywhere else and poo-pooing it, I don't know why you can't keep the same energy and look at what's happening within our own borders.
Or any white, if you're going to go that far, like go to any westernized white predominant country then. Because you're going to see violence there, and you're going to see violence conducted by the white people. In the UK alone, the hooligan culture, which is tied to football, which is tied to soccer, which is tied to rugby, which is that culture is extremely violent and yet extremely culturally accepted.
Yes.
And
they burn down neighborhoods.
Yeah, they burn down neighborhoods. They harass the elderly. They harass Black people. Like, there is literally, like, even the safest nation on this planet will not save everybody from violence. Their violence is going to be somewhere.
Yeah.
So that's not a part, like, yeah, am I gonna choose to move to a country that's in active war in the moment?
No, I don't. No.
I'm not that dumb. You know, like, I'm not going to do that. Am I gonna choose and also, in the same way that not all the parts of the United States are the same, not all the parts of Mexico are the same. You know, there's going to be some places that are a little bit more violent than others. There's going to be some places that are more poverty stricken than others. There's going to be some places that are, you know, overly affluent and stuff like that. That's going to be wherever we go. And we're making decisions based off of certain aspects of our own safety as women, as femme presenting, as queer people, as in my case, as brown person. You know, these are factors that, like, if you don't think we have weighed those, you know, our loved ones who are coming at us to tell us why our decision is so terrible. I think at the end of the day, it boils down to you're doing something for you, and I'm not comfortable with that because I come from a culture that tells us we're not supposed to do something for ourselves. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna say like, oh, you're jealous or anything like that. I know that that's a go-to argument for a lot of things as well, but I really just think it's like, as Americans, we are raised to think you just hunker down, you stick it out. If you leave, you're not patriotic, which I'm fine with. If you, you know, like, if you don't just, why do I have to keep putting up with stuff and you're going to choose to leave it? That doesn't make any sense to me. I don't have ears for that. No. I don't have ears for that.
Especially if there's a large amount of us, and it's not about, yes, it is about politics, but like, if you're on the conservative side, of course, like, you're crazy pants, whatever, but I see the same issues with liberals. Yeah. Like, I see you guys not going out there and not wearing masks. Yeah. I see you guys going out there and not having accessibility to for your disabled community members.
Yeah, literally the pandemic showed us how accessible the world can be for people who need virtual access to things. And then immediately, as soon as we decided we want to go back outside again, we're going to shut down anything that was accessible during the pandemic. And
which other is still countries, COVID was everywhere. And the numbers of death that we have we exceeded everybody. And are still on. Everybody acting like COVID is still killing a lot of people a day.
It's still around $500 a day. Yeah, it's still like 500 people a day.
Yeah, and it's a major disabling
in America.
In America, and I thought naively, I keep hoping. I go, okay, this will be the thing that will wake everybody up, and we'll have change. Like the fact that we're not screaming for universal health care.
And still fighting against it. Still 100% fighting against it.
After everything. And y'all, I have lived in other countries. I know that universal health care is not perfect. Okay. I have not found a system.
There's no perfect system.
That is perfect. However, I will tell you that America doesn't do it better. We do not. We are not. This whole make America great again. We've never been great.
Never been great. Especially if the whole foundation of our country is the enslavement and relocation of human people as cattle. It's not going to be a win.
We're ending on a negative.
Sorry. That's just regular to me. Do you want to find something? You want to find something positive to end on?
Okay. The takeaway is, y'all, is that what I hope that you take away from all of this is, yes, make your list, do your research, but then get other perspectives outside your own world. Yeah. Because once you start looking at it from an intersectionality point of view.
I mean, all of the reasons, while there are the logical reasons that we've talked about on the show so far, why we're moving, a lot of the reasons that you and I individually want to go are for positive things. Yes. We want to experience a different culture from ourselves. We want to be in an environment, like for me, like being near an ocean and being near a forest at the same time, like sandwiched in between those two things, is actually something that's been on my list forever. It just so happens to be the place that we're going is available to do that. To be able to explore different types of environments than is available to me to explore if I stay here in the United States. That is way high on the list.
Yes.
What's also on the list happens to be healthcare, safety,
Yes.
All of those things are also on the list. But I have worked for so many years, for so long, just like just like a lot of people. I have dealt with racism in the workplace. I've dealt with sexism in the workplace. I've dealt with anti-queerness in the workplace. I am probably going to continue to experience stuff like that anywhere that I go in the world. But what I'm choosing to do now that I've never chosen to do before is to pick an environment that I think I will enjoy, have some joy, be able to explore, and in the process learn, get opportunities to learn a whole lot, things like that. I'm choosing to live a life that can be more joy than work.
Yes.
That's what it boils down to. Because it happens that there's all this imperialism and colonialism and
colonial and everything. Because in America, you work till you die, right? You work until retirement, and then you're too old and tired to travel.
Enjoy your life.
I don't want to live that way. And also, on my personal note is, yes, I want all the things that you just said, but also I want to be an example, a positive example for a change of how to travel and experience. Experience other cultures without
othering them.
Yes, the colonizing mindset that I pay for it, I get what I want.
Yeah,
which is an American approach to travel. I pay for it, therefore you work for me.
Yeah,
I own this.
Yeah.
He's gone now, but Anthony Bourdain, the way he traveled and experienced and sat down and talked with people with food.
Yeah, food is the way.
And he didn't other people. And he ate things he didn't like, but he never made faces or made fun of their food or demanded certain things be done a certain way. He was like, no, I'm a guest in your home.
Yeah. Can you conceive of the fact that not everybody's taste buds are the same, and not everybody's, if you're raised with access to certain foods, you're going to like those foods. And if you're not raised with access to them, it's a little bit going to be of a struggle. This is a chance for you to learn, And I'm a hella picky eater, but I also understand when something is a cultural dish versus when something is, I don't like it.
It's so funny. It's like my history with you with food is like you only ate Taco Bell and cereal at the.
Did I tell you this story? Well, also we were in college, and I had a very restrictive childhood where food is concerned. Like I wasn't allowed to eat anything that gave me any kind of joy. So as the first time of me being out on my own, it was just like joy food.
Yes, I get it.
But did I tell you the story that when I was telling Tree that I basically selected Mexico for us, and that's what was going to happen? And he was like, well, where are we going to go? I was like, it's between these two cities right now, but the one I'm leaning towards is the Merida. And he goes, is there a Taco Bell there? And I was like, we're going to actual Mexico. Because Taco Bell, for those people who don't know, Tree and me, Taco Bell we're known for Taco Bell as part of our relationship. And it's like some of our deepest conversations we've ever had have been in I know we're going long too. The deepest conversations we ever had have been in Taco Bell drive-thrus and stuff like that. It's a big part of our relationship culture. And so he says that, I'm like, we're going to actual Mexico. We don't ever have to touch Taco Bell again. And he said something like, the fact that you said that so casually, it's like you don't even understand the foundation of this relationship.
Okay, well, tell him there is a Taco Bell.
He Googled. I made him Google. I'm like, what? I do all the research for everything. Like, why don't you Google it? So he did find one. And who knows? Maybe it'll taste better than any Taco Bell we've ever had, because there'll be actual. Maybe they'll adopt the actual.
When
local
I
culture.
traveled in different countries, like eating McDonald's, I mean, it's still fast food, but they have different options.
I had
things that you didn't.
I had McDo when I was in France. I don't think I did McDonald's in England, but it definitely, I remember it tasting different. And Their meat
there are
is different, and
a lot of the foods we eat here is illegal in
other
many
countries.
other
Yeah.
countries.
Oh, we should definitely do an episode on
We
this.
need to do. Oh yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
a good episode.
Actually, let's plan.
Food.
Let's plan. That. Well, we do have it on our list, but just specifically thinking about
Yeah.
like how illegal American food is in so many parts of the world,
especially in Europe. Especially in Europe, there are things like Mountain Dew, guys. It's not. Nope, can't get it.
Do you mean this?
This is.
I have a berry.
I don't drink soda,
Dew
but
right now.
yeah.
I mean, I'm a
Mountain Dew
Voltage,
girl, but
charged with raspberry and citrus flavor and ginseng. I just thought I'd try it out today.
There's
gonna be some things that I'm not expecting to ever eat again if we leave. We leave a thing. So I guess that's pretty much it for us. I don't want us to go too long since we
ended on a Taco Bell. We're good.
We ended on Taco Bell, which I'll probably go to immediately after this because
they are. Not
I know his ears are burning. He's heard Taco Bell.
Now you're gonna have to go through drive-thru.
Now we're gonna have to go.
Okay.
But we will be back. So this episode is airing on. I think it's like August 3rd. Oh, he popped up behind me. I was looking down. I didn't see him. We're recording right now, sir.
Honestly, that better stay. It better stay.
I'll leave it in. Oh, he just
dipped.
That's funny. So we're going to talk about now. We will be back in 2 weeks. So the day that this episode airs will be August 31st, but I am about in 2 days. I'm going to be leaving for my 3-state, 3-city, 3-conference or convention tour over 3 weeks. I'll be in Dallas, Anaheim, and Atlanta. So I think did we plan it out so that we're skipping a week, or does it all plan it? I forget what it is, but whatever it is, the next time we get together, we're going to be talking mostly about just general travel because I'm going to have all this trip stuff.
I think our next one, we're going to pretty much be sticking to how you're going to be talking a lot about your travel through the United States.
I'm going to be looking through accessibility, about queerness. I mean, I'm going to wear all of my gay ass stuff.
The next time I see you again is the 10th.
Yeah, so it's gonna be a minute.
Yeah. And then I'm gonna see you on the 17th, and then we skip. I don't know why. Oh, yeah. Holiday.
We'll figure something out. But so yeah, we might have one skip and otherwise we are staying on a bi-weekly schedule. But next time we'll be talking mostly about general travel and accessibility because that's something I'm gonna be looking for while I'm traveling. Okay. One of my trips is a driving trip, 2 of them are flying trips. I'm staying in different levels of hotels in each place or Airbnbs and stuff like that. So I have a whole bunch of stuff that I will probably go through next time we're together. And then when we'll come back, we'll get back into the whatever it is we're doing, moving abroad, expat life. And on that note, don't forget to be your queer ass selves. Don't forget to be your mixed ass selves. Don't forget to be whatever the fuck you are ass selves. And
we're waxed.
We're waxed. We're vaxxed. I haven't packed yet, but I'm gonna start packing in a little bit. So
the hearts, you internets. Have a good night.
Queer and Far is a ManeHustle Media Podcast, produced and edited by Sharmane Fury. Co-hosted by Sharmane Fury, aka daBlasianBlerd, and Shae Nahnigans. Music is Big Band Savage Jazz by Pine Groove. If you like what you've heard on Queer and Far, please subscribe, rate, and review on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts.
ManeHustle Media. Turn your side hustle into your main hustle.